are talking about the Big 12 returners. Jamie, I think you'll agree that conversation kind of has to start with JT Toppin at the top here. Preseason All American selection, a guy who put up, 18-9 last season and has every opportunity to do it again, to repeat his performance from last season on a team that has a lot of hope to go deep in the postseason. So I like his game. I think that there is plenty of elements, starting with some of the defense. I think that the rebounding translates. But what's interesting about him is that I don't think that he's a stretch the floor power forward. I don't think he's really going to turn into that, which means that he's limited in what kind of system and what kind of team he fits at in the next level. So, in the right spot, I think he could be a really good player, a guy who can contribute for years. But it's about finding the right location for him more than anything.
Yeah, he's an interesting player. His offensive game is a little bit more set as a five, but his physical build's a little bit more as a four-ish type guy. I think what he's going to need to show, can he stretch away from the basket? Awesome within 5 feet of the 5 to 10 feet of the basket, able to really, really create angles. Like his ability to catch the ball, go left hand, right hand, counters, all that type of stuff, and create an angle, create an advantage on the block, I think is truly unique. And he's twitchy, he's a quick leaper and all that type of stuff. The intrigue that I have with his game, what he's going to have to be able to do is how does he consistently create offensive advantages within the flow of the spacing that the NBA likes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is he able to? Can you play through him with the passing? Now, talking with Grant McCaslin, he loves the way that he passes the ball, the unselfishness, and all that stuff. Love to see him be a little bit see what it looks like. I don't know if he can be or not. I want to see what it looks like him being a little bit more of a hub away from the basket, maybe running some offense through, see what his passing ability truly looks like, and then defensively, can he switch and slide? Not a rim protector. He can play as the biggest guy at the rim, the last line of defense, and block a couple shots, but he's not a true rim protector.
Right.
What does it look like sliding, defending? Is he able to switch across multiple spots on the defensive end? I think there's a lot of questions that it comes with JT Toppin's game when it comes to the next level. I think as a collegiate player, possibly the top 5 guy within the college game right now. When it comes to the next level, I'd be interested to see him expand his game out. To have a little bit more on both ends of the floor, a little bit more responsibility, and kind of just see what it looks like with those expanded roles.
Yeah, he's one of those guys too that I would fit in the category. We've talked about a few players in this group of power forwards who I think would benefit greatly at the next level if they're next to one of these stretch the floor fives, because they can then get to their spot on offense. And it's this idea that we've seen pop up more and more of having one guy who's the center on offense and the power forward on defense, and then flip it, and then you got the other guy plays, power forward on offense, center on defense, because you've got these bigs now, these centers who are versatile enough to play on the perimeter and leave that space open for that power forward who can then provide you a little bit of different impact on both ends and really switch things up and make it more complicated for the opposing team.
The 2 guys with Texas Tech that I'm fascinated with that I think could take huge steps this year are LaJuan Watts, Washington State transfer, and Christian Anderson. Mm-hmm. Christian Anderson had a big summer with Germany this year, FIBA. By all accounts, has taken a step toward being able to be the primary lead guard on this team, as opposed to a piece that he was as a freshman. Ball's going to be in his hand. Decisions are going to be up to him. And it looked like this summer he was capable of taking that step forward. Listed 6'3" long arms. He can shoot the basketball, touch the paint. How does he consistently create offensive advantages? And once he gets that advantage, the reads. We'll be very interested to see kind of how he does there, putting pressure on the rim consistently, getting into the teeth of the defense and doing all that. Very eager to see the step he makes. And LaJuan Watts is just one of those jack of all trades types. We saw last year what Darion Williams was able to do in that role with this Texas Tech team. LaJuan Watts comes in. He averaged 4 assists this past year. Ball in hand, quick processor. He's got the physical size, long arms, great length, good athlete, very instinctive type player. He's able to create advantages off the dribble, pass, or shoot. Very eager to see kind of what the step coming from Washington State to the Big 12 looks like for him. And what role that he's given within the flow of that offense. Now, he is somebody I said I'd like to see what it looks like with JT Toppin. He is somebody that you can put the ball in his hands and make plays. And it's going to be great for Christian Anderson, too, because not all of the play creation is going to be on him. Anderson's going to be able to take some off-ball type opportunities, stretch the floor, show that he can corner shoot while the ball is in Lawan Watts' hands and making decisions as well. I think those two guys are people that are both guys that can pop onto NBA radars if they continue to take steps forward this season.
Yeah, and I really like the idea just from a team building standpoint that you've got a big man, you've got a wing player, and you've got a guard, all who are in this conversation, in this mix to have big breakout, or well, one of them has already broken out, but two guys added to.
Super sleeper too, Luke Bamgoye.
Yes.
The VCU transfer, big time rim protector, big time
really good rim
presence.
protector for sure. Let's move on. I'm going to let you throw us to the next place you want to go on this board of players.
We can jump into. I guess since there's so many guys that are intriguing in the Big 12, we can go team by team. Iowa State has a couple of guys that I'm very interested in. Joshua Jefferson is the main one for me that I'm going to be watching. Really like the versatility that he brings, his ability to find opportunities in an efficient manner on both ends of the floor. I think the defensive versatility is really, really interesting. His ability to kind of slide up and down a lineup, guard, both perimeter-based forwards while sliding down and also guarding guys on the block as well, helping out that way. But also the kind of jack of all trades offensive ability he brings, especially with the pressure he brings putting on a defense off the ball. I think he's a very good cutter, very good slasher, pulls gravity that way as well, and finds offensive advantages in that way.
Yeah, Jefferson is a guy that I'm really interested in because he feels like the prototype of what we've seen become so valuable in the NBA of the four who's long, can stretch the spacing out on offense, can cut to the basket off of the ball handler. But on the defensive end, like you said, the versatility. I mean, you can move him around. Wherever the best team's player is, you can just angle him towards that. And whether it's help defense on a big, whether it's asking him to be the point of attack guy, I think that he's got so much range in what he's going to be able to do that he's going to find a lot of value there and get on the court quick.
Two more fascinating guys with them that bring incredible value, but also questions. Tamin Lipsey, possibly one of the best on-ball defenders in the college basketball game.
Yeah.
His ability to heat up the basketball full length of the court, make the opposing ball handler uncomfortable, turn him multiple times before he gets to half court, all that. I think Tamin Lipsey really has that. What is he on offense? That's going to be the main thing. Yeah. Can he make decisions on offense? Can he make shots on offense? Can he consistently collapse the defense and make a play for his team on the offensive end? I think it's going to be fascinating to see what type of step he takes there without having Keyshawn Gilbert beside him to kind of take some of those primary options off of him. What does he look like as the primary guy? But his defensive ability at the point of attack is quite possibly second to none. And then you have Milan Momcilovic, who quite opposite is a bucket.
Yes.
He is an absolute bucket getter, but he does so in a very unique manner. A lot of his stuff is out of the mid-range. He can stretch the floor. He can shoot it. He's got touch. But, man, his mid-range stuff, you get the ball in the mid-post to him and his footwork and his balance points and his ability to find angles using up fakes and footwork and all that step-throughs and everything is fun to watch. Defensively, where does he guard at? He's going to have to show that he's going to be able to, at least be serviceable on that end of the floor.
Yeah.
At 6'8", 6'9", not really a rim protector, not really a switchable guy, but he has a very unique ability to score and score and score on offense, and this could be a very, very big year for him. I mean, yes. 20 points per game is very much within the realm of possibilities for what he's able to do. He's going to be efficient with it. So it's going to be fascinating to see kind of where the consensus lies on him as the season progresses forward. But I think those three guys are very intriguing long-term guys. Blake Buchanan, maybe he's a big guy who came in from Idaho, previously at Virginia. He's got some tools to him as well and can fit into this Otzelberger system with given opportunity. So Jefferson, I'm fascinated by. And I'm very intrigued to see what Milan and Tamin do this season.
Yeah, Tamin, you talked about the defense. There's no question there. I just need him to be a facilitator. We talked about earlier in this episode about some of the Alvarados, the McConnells of the world. If you're that good on defense, as long as you can bring the ball up the court and get it into the offense, they're going to find a spot for you for sure. And then you talked about Milan. I mean, yeah, he's a bucket, and I think he might even benefit some from the versatility of Jefferson because You talk
Yeah.
about two guys who you think of as fours. If they look cohesive, you're going to give them both a boost for their ability to play next to each other. I'm going to take us to Houston, where I know that we're going to talk about Milos Uzan here, but JoJo Tugler is just one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, the stocks are unreal. The ability to block shots, to create steals, to get into passing lanes. He goes out on the perimeter. I mean, guys that he is way bigger than should not be staying in front of, and it's just, I think it's almost just such a physical, just an imposing presence that he can freeze that perimeter player for a second and get his positioning where it needs to be. He does so much on the defensive end. I think he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive player in the country at the college level. What can he do on offense? That's going to be the question. Can he do a little bit of rim running? Can there be that kind of dunker spot slash to the bucket, get the offensive rebound and put it back in? That's where I think he's going to have to show I can stay on the floor on both ends and not just be a pure defensive specialist like he has been.
100% spot on. No notes on that one. Tugler's got a chance to be the defensive player of the year in the country.
Yeah.
Just like Tamin Lipsey. Tugler is the forward version of what Tamin Lipsey does. Absolute, just, just an undeniable defensive presence. Again, has a chance to be the defensive player of the year. What steps does he take on offense? How does he consistently score? What can you rely on with him on the offensive end of the floor? Around the basket, can he get to his left shoulder? Is he a rim runner? Can he stretch the floor? Anything? What does he bring there? And looking at this Houston team too, obviously all eyes are going to be on Chris Sinak, who in game one, the freshman looked like very much like a top 10 pick. Kingston Flemings is another one as well, but I think Milos Uzan is in line for a major step forward.
Yes.
We know what this Houston team does with guards, the freedom that he gives his guards as long as they defend. Uzan coming out of high school popped up on NBA draft talks before he'd go into Oklahoma. Took him a couple seasons to kind of get settled. Came into this Houston team last year, and he was a factor with the ball in his hand with other guys around him, the LJ Cryers of the world and then Emmanuel Sharp, who took a huge step as well. I'm going to be interested to see what type of NBA buzz he gets also. But the ball was in Uzan's hands to make decisions. Now, this is final year 2 at Houston. Last year, college basketball, Houston doesn't necessarily have the same depth they had last year at the guard position. So his usage will probably go up even more with what he's capable of doing. If he can shoot the ball like he did last year from three, if he can consistently play efficient basketball, assist turnover wise, getting the ball into the right spots and all that, while showing the ability to touch the paint consistently as well and then play on the defensive end. There's a lot to like there with Milos Uzan to be able to even creep into possibly the first round type conversations.
Yeah, I agree for sure. You're going to get the defensive platform and a Kelvin Sampson guard. And I think that we need to take like just a step back into the past when we talk about Uzan. And I don't know if we're going to appreciate enough along the way watching him what he is now, the leap that he took. I mean, complete just turned it around and was a different player midway through the season last year.
Yeah.
And that's when that Houston team became a national championship contender. That's when they looked like, okay, this is going to be a Final Four type of roster. When he took over and he hit a completely different level where he was scoring in double digits every night, he looked like he had this just newfound confidence to run the offense. He was the guy out on the court and he knew it. He brings that into this year. And yeah, there could be a big leap in the stats when you look year over year. That's going to be a continuation of what he did at the end of last season.
No, without question. I think it's going to be fascinating too. He had some NBA draft conversations this offseason as well. Stayed in pretty lengthy time into the NBA draft process before coming back to Houston. But I think there's a very clear pathway for him to be able to take a step. Emmanuel Sharp's an intriguing one here as well. Kind of more of a defensive presence, on ball defensive guy who can make shots as well. If he can find the consistency of the shot making, maybe a little bit of self creation in his game as well, there's an intriguing pathway for him to be able to scratch and claw his way onto a roster.
Yeah, let's talk BYU because they've surrounded AJ DeBanza with some really good talent. Richie Saunders is a guy who last year I was looking at and thinking, Look, I know that he's probably going to go back to BYU for another year, but somebody's got to talk about him in this NBA draft conversation. 17 a game and over 43% from three last year. And now going to get to play with some real gravity guys. So I think that that's only going to continue to be an above 40 clip. He's he's got some other things to his game though. He's not just a spot up shooter. You'll see him kind of take one off the bounce and get to the rim. You'll see him do some other things within this offense that I'm really fascinated to see this year.
Without question, when you mentioned BYU, Richie Saunders was the name that I had circled as to returners. Obviously, Dibansa is going to draw all the attention, and rightfully so. What a specimen he is, but Richie on the opposite wing, like you said, the shooting's going to be his meal ticket. The shooting's going to be what opens the eyes and gets him into the league. And if he maintains that 40% clip, but his diversity, ability to kind of do a little bit more than just shoot. He's able to attack a sloppy closeout. He's able to get into space, make some mid-range pull-up type stuff. And he moves the ball pretty well as well. Really like his movement shooting. Really like what he's able to do coming off screens and kind of finding space there. And I think this season, what we're going to see as BYU has a little bit more defined positions, you have a clear 1, clear 2, clear 3, clear 4,
Mm-hmm.
all that type of stuff, a little more defined positions. I'm eager to see the actions that Kevin Young's able to put him in to kind of streamline the efficiency within his game. It'll be very interesting to see what Richie Saunders is going to do when he knows he's going to get 12 shots, and those 12 shots per game are going to come from these spots on the floor. Very interested to see kind of how that looks, the efficiency pop that it has there, and kind of the diversity with which he's able to get it in there. But I think Richie Saunders has a very real chance of being able to open some eyes this season.
Yeah, Rob Wright also, I mean, he's been given the keys. He's going to run this thing as the point guard. But I'm so fascinated in Kibakita, just electric. That's the way that I describe his game. Just electric. I mean, he's going and he's grabbing rebounds and he's blocking shots and he's just such a physical force out there. The height is going to be a question because there's no doubt about it. He's a center, but these high energy guys, I don't know. Sometimes there's a pathway that they can create for themselves, not towards big minutes, but towards being on the roster, being a guy who just kind of rises the competitive level in practice, can give you those 5 minutes that get the burst, get the crowd back into it, get everyone on the bench to lock back in. I think he could really create something for himself with all the eyes that are going to be on this team. He might catch a few of those eyes and at least get some people interested in a two-way contract.
Yeah, you mentioned Rob Wright. He's going to have to overcome the height questions
Mm-hmm.
with that and build the dynamic nature of his game. There's going to be no doubt the production that he has. He's one of the more productive point guards as we were able to see last night. Kebakita, as you said, physical presence, athletic specimen, strong, not afraid to throw his body around, high motor. Can he carve out his niche on the offensive end? What can we rely on him to do to be able to pull spacing on the offensive end of the floor, and where his areas? I agree with you. I think there's a very real potential pathway there. I think there's a very real stuff that he brings to the table, and his motor, physicality, and presence, just sheer presence around the basket is very, very appealing.
Yep. I know you want to talk about Baylor because they've got some really interesting pieces there.
For sure. I mean, and a lot of the NBA talk early is going to be around Tunde Yusufu, the incredible national freshman class we have coming in here. But I think they have some very intriguing pieces surrounding him. Starting with Cam Carr, 6'6", 6'7", wing who transferred in mid-year last year from Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
coming over this year. He's a late bloomer coming out of high school. He is an athletic presence, great length, very fluid mover, and he can really shoot the basketball. The shooting is a real kind of upside that he has there as he continue to round out his offensive game. It's going to be very intriguing the step that he takes, as he has not really seen real minutes yet in the college basketball game. What types of steps? Dad's a former NBA guy as well, dunk contest guy, and all that. It'd be interesting to see the steps that he takes because he's got a lot of physical tools that check a lot of boxes, as he continues to kind of put things together. And then Michael Rataj is another one, the transfer coming in, 6'8" forward. I would not be surprised to see him have the ball in his hand a lot, make some decisions. I think he's a very skilled guy. He's got a very high IQ as a player as well, ball in hand, able to make decisions with that. So I'll be very fascinated to see the role that he brings with Baylor, but also kind of the production that he's able to bring within that role. There's a very unique with the size, skill, kind of combination that he brings that I think on this platform in the Big 12 could really, really pop.
Yeah, on that same roster, Obi Agbin, man, I've caught a couple of glimpses of his game, and just early on, I am really impressed with just the overall well-rounded wing slash guard ability that he has. He looks like he could come in and look. He's not going to be VJ Edgecombe from last season, but if you told me he could fill the production that they got out of him in that spot, I'd believe it. I think that he's got that kind of talent. And so I'm interested to see how does he do it. We haven't seen a lot of him, obviously coming from Wyoming. So what does it look like against the high level competition? How does he build his game? How does he create all those advantages and obviously play with a lot of other talent, the guys that we've already listed here that are on that roster with him? As we wrap up here on the show, let's throw out. I know we've got a couple of guys, particularly at the center position, that we want to just touch on in this conference. And Mustafa Tiam is right up at the top of that. Me and you have talked about his game for, I feel like, a couple of years now. Actually, just love what he was able to do last year as a pure rim protector, a guy who gets on the glass, is continuing to develop his offensive game. Now he's at Cincinnati. Where he's going to play with Baba Miller, another guy who has always kind of just been on the fringe of the NBA draft conversation, and really interested to see how he anchors that team with maybe a little bit more talent than he's played around before.
Yeah, without question. Mustafa's one I think could take a massive jump. I think what he does defensively is very, very unique. But he started shooting threes a little bit last year. He's going to need to add weight and all that type of stuff. But he's got a very, very unique disposition with what he brings to the floor. You mentioned Baba Miller as well. I'm going to go with Flory Badunga out of Kansas. Very intrigued to see what he brings. Again, like we mentioned previously with Big Oswin at Providence, Flory's got a very, very unique athletic disposition to his game. He's a twitchy athlete, but also an explosive. He's a quick leaper. He's got unbelievable instincts as well, and he's got good hands. Can he expand his offensive game? Can he be somebody you dump the ball down to on the block and gets over his right shoulder? Can he consistently knock down free throws? Is there any type of pick and pop stuff to 18 feet that he can show as well? Height's going to be a thing for him, kind of in the 6'8" range. As a 5-man, what does that look like? But there are some very, very, very unique athletic traits that he brings to the table that help him with the length as well and the ferocity motor that he brings at the highest level.
Yeah, really liked what he did in limited minutes last year. I think he's going to be given really just full opportunity to be the guy for this Kansas team this season. Jamie, thanks for doing this. We've gotten through all of the
Can I go through a couple more names?
Yeah, throw some more out. We got time.
Sebastian Rancic's one that I'm going to be interested to see what he does at Colorado.
Yes.
Skilled 6'9" guy, can really shoot the ball. I'm going to be interested to see the step that he takes. He could be the focal point for this Colorado team this year. What does that look like? And kind of how does his game progress forward freshman to sophomore year? There's some real tools there. Very interested to see that. David Punch at TCU is another one. I'm intrigued to kind of see what he does. 6'7" guy who plays with a motor. He's athletic. Can he streamline his offense a little bit more? Can he do a little bit more perimeter-based stuff as well? There is shooting touch. There is natural shooting touch there. Mm-hmm. Can he get the balance points right, the footwork, and all that type of stuff with his jump shooting? Eager to see David Punch this season for TCU, and then PJ Haggerty.
Yeah, PJ Haggerty, of course,
at Kansas State.
Yeah,
just a bucket getter.
Yeah, he's a guy who last year, I mean, we talk about Yaxel Lindeborg and how big of a deal he's going to be in college basketball this year. Well, don't forget PJ Haggerty won Conference Player of the Year over him last season. So that's how productive he was in the American last year. That wraps up our
one of the most coveted players out of the portal this year. Yeah. Undeniable scoring ability. You kind of saw it a couple years ago with Judah Mintz
Mhm.
People, he ended up getting drafted with his ability to kind of collapse the defense, get to the paint, and get to the free throw line as well. Does he expand the game out a little bit more than that? He's going to have the usage at Kansas State. We'll see kind of what the offensive output looks like there, but there's obvious intrigue with the production he's had already in college.
Yep, for sure.